If you love timeless high-end home decor but prefer a more intentional, budget-friendly approach, this video is for you. Today, I'm sharing a collection of my favorite Pottery Barn style DIY projects that bring a warm and elevated look into your home without the high price tag. These are decor pieces I've styled again and again because they're natural, classic, and easy to blend into any season. This is a longer, relaxing DIY video, perfect to watch while you craft, decorate, or simply unwind. Let's create a timeless high-end look for a lot less. And if you enjoy Pottery Barn inspired DIYs, look for less decor and cozy home styling, I'd love for you to subscribe and join me here. The first DIY is inspired by the Pottery Barn textured earthenware vase, which retails for a whooping $99, but we're making our own for just a few dollars. I'm starting with a thrifted vase that has a great shape but definitely needs a makeover. To achieve that high-end textured look, I am applying drywall compound all over the vase using a putty knife. This is a trick I use often because it creates a beautiful organic texture that mimics expensive earthenware. If you don't have drywall compound, you can also use baking soda mixed with paint for a similar effect, or even plaster of Paris mixed into a fairly thick texture. While I'm applying the drywall compound, I wanted to mention that this video is extra special because I'm collaborating with my best friend Sandra from DIYs at the Schwalmen's Nest. Sandra and I have been friends for over 24 years and used to even live on the same street. We have been DIYing together for years and I love her creativity. She's also sharing some amazing DIYs today, so be sure to check out her video after this one. I will have her channel and video linked down in the description box. And if it's your first time stopping by from her channel, hello and welcome. And if you're visiting her channel for the first time from my channel, make sure to say hello to her and let her know Sonja sent you. Moving on to the vase, once the drywall compound was applied, I did not wait for it to dry before creating the lines. I used a comb to make the lines evenly distributed, referencing my inspiration piece as a guide. This process was very therapeutic and I really enjoyed it. Once it dried for about 24 hours, I sanded down any rough peaks using sandpaper from Dollar Tree. The final result turned out stunning, and I think it's a very close match to the Pottery Barn inspiration piece for just a fraction of the price. You can customize this however you like. You can leave it as is, like I am doing, or paint it with a creamy white, a deep terracotta, or even a soft gray to match your decor. The end result is a high-end looking vase that you would never guess was a thrift store find. Moving on to my next DIY, we're going to transform this flower pot or planter that I picked up at Dollarama for just $1.75. I was immediately drawn to the little braided design because I knew it would be perfect for mimicking the look of wicker or rattan, which is incredibly popular right now. As you can see, similar pieces can be quite pricey online. To achieve that high-end look, I use dark antiquing wax. I'm using any Sloan, but any brand will work. I simply applied it with a brush, making sure to work into all the grooves to enhance the texture. This was such a simple and easy DIY, but the result is absolutely beautiful. It's the perfect way to add warmth and texture to your space, and I think it truly gives that rattan or wicker effect. What do you guys think? Wicker rattan and woven decor pieces are some of my favorite things to look for at thrift stores because they're so much more affordable than buying new. Most high-end stores charge a fortune for these, but thrift stores usually have a great selection. If you don't love the original color, don't worry, you can easily update it with gel stain, watered down paint, chalk paint, or even wax. For my piece, I'm using a combination of dark wax and white wax to deepen the tone while still letting the natural woven texture shine through. So the next piece that I'm working on is this thrifted tray, which I got for just $2.99. It was the perfect shape and I loved the design, but the color was a little too yellow for my taste.
Friends, and warm
I'm not sure
hello
if you
you're
can
new
see it
here.
on
In
camera, but I
today's
wanted to
video,
give it a
I'm sharing
slightly
a
different
beautiful
look. I
roundup
recently
of all
picked
of
up
my
this
recent
rattan style
high-end
bunny
DIY
from Home
dupes,
Sense, and I
inspired
love the
by
warm
Pottery
natural
Barn,
tone
Mickey
of
&
it.
Co., Crate & Barrel,
This
and
was the
all of
color I wanted
Atelier,
to replicate
all
on the
in one
tray.
place.
To achieve that look,
If you
I
love the
mixed
look for less,
white
you're
wax
going to
with
love these
darkened
elegant,
taking wax and
budget-friendly
applied it to the
DIYs.
tray.
They bring
I think
timeless,
it really helped
designer style into your home
to
without
tone
the
down
price
the
tag.
yellow, and the final
I'm
result was
Sonja,
pretty
and this is
close to the
DIYs with
color of the
Sonja,
bunny.
your cozy corner for high-end inspired decor, seasonal DIYs, and home styling made simple and affordable.
Like I said, trays like these can be
For
so
my regular
expensive in
viewers,
stores,
I've
so I
added
always keep
chapters
an eye
below
out
so you
for
can
them at
easily
thrift
check
stores.
if you've
This
missed
one was
any of
actually
these
picked
recent
up for me by
projects. And
Sandra.
if you're
She
new
was
here,
out
I hope
thrifting, sending me pictures,
you'll get
and I
inspired and enjoy the
grabbed it
full
for me.
video. I know you're going to
Sometimes
love these
having a
look
personal
for less.
shopper really
Don't
comes in
forget to
handy, and I'm
subscribe
so
if you love
grateful for
high-end
Sandra.
DIYs on a
One
budget,
thing
and
to
tap
note
the
about
like
using
button to
wax,
let me
it
know
does
which
take some
project
time
is
to
your
cure.
favorite.
Right after
Let's jump in.
applying it, the tray felt a little sticky, and the more I handled it, the more wax rubbed off. But after about 24 hours, it was completely fine. I used the rag to wipe off some of the excess wax and then reapplied a little bit more in certain areas to get that perfect finish. This is such a great way to incorporate warmth and natural elements into your decor, and the best part is that not two pieces are ever the same. This last DIY is a dupe of the extra large fall olive stem from Crate & Barrel, which retails for $89. I love the look of these oversized olive stems, but I definitely don't love the price. To make my own, I wanted to include it here because we are going to recreate it just for $10. I picked up olive branches from Temu for $10 for 5 stems. Each branch had multiple smaller branches, so I split them in half. Using real branch from my yard, I had glued the olive stems onto them, following the natural curvature to make it look realistic. And don't worry, cutting off a branch from a bush or a tree in your yard does not kill that plant. Any longer branches were trimmed down. This is such a great statement piece in a vase, and I love how high-end it looks for a fraction of the price. If you missed my eucalyptus tree DIY, which was a Crate & Barrel dupe, I will link it into the corner for you to check out. For under $10, I now have a beautiful statement piece that looks just as good as the high-end version. This is such an easy way to elevate your floral arrangements and add a timeless touch to your decor. I'm kicking things off with this vase. It had this chicken wire style cage over it and made it look like a little bit more industrial, but I saw potential. I've had it for years. It was recently tucked away in storage, and when I came across this gorgeous boat ride vase on Pottery Barn, this stunning moody blue with rusty looking base, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. That one is normally $149, and even on a clearance, it's still $118.99. but mine basically free and about to get a serious glow up. First order of business was to remove that cage. Couldn't find my wire cutters, story of my life, so I grabbed some shears instead. The wire was soft, so it actually came off pretty easily. Once I got the cage off, I pulled out the vase, gave it a good clean because wow, it was dusty, and took it outside to start the transformation. For the rustic base, I used a glossy leather brown spray paint. I sprayed the bottom third or so of the vase, leaving a little extra in case I needed to blend it later. Then I brought it back in and grabbed one of my all-time favorite blues, a Busan blue by Annie Sloan. It's rich, it's elegant, and that chalky finish gives glass that beautiful ceramic texture. I painted the rest of the vase, stopping just above the brown base using my Dixie Belle's Best Dang brush. Once it was dry, I wanted to soften it a bit and add a worn-in feel, so I mixed up some watered-down white acrylic paint. You can totally use white wax for this step too, but honestly, most people have acrylic paint on hand. Mine was towards the end, so I just added water directly to the bottle and mixed it up. I squirted it on the vase first, but I didn't love the way that was going, so I dabbed it on with paper towel, blending it until it looked like it had always been there, like it was meant to be this way. Then I sealed it with clear gloss spray to give it that polished, high-end sheen. And here it is. This might be one of my favorite vase flips yet. It's giving elegant coastal summer vibes, and I love how versatile it is year round. And if you're loving this Pottery Barn dupe already, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps more people find these budget-friendly ideas, and it lets me know you're into these kinds of transformations. Alright, now let's move on to the second project. I've had this old wooden sign from Hobby Lobby just waiting for a second life, and when I found this beautiful late Aurora rice paper from Dixie Belle, hello, instant inspiration. I've seen framed art pieces like this everywhere lately. Pottery Barn, Crate and Barrel, McGee & Co., Restoration Hardware, and they're all in the 300 to 400 range. But we're making ours for around $21. I started by slightly sanding the frame um, just to scuff it up. It didn't seem like it had top coat, but I wanted to be sure the paint would stick. Then I brushed on Dixie Belle's chalk mineral paint in burlap, a warm neutral. Before it dried completely, I went over the frame with a damp paper towel to soften and lift some of the paint, giving it a slight weathered look. Once it was dry, I applied a layer of gator hide as my adhesive, and I opened up the rice paper and took a moment to eyeball exactly where I wanted the design to sit within the frame. I didn't measure too precisely. I just played around with the placement until it felt balanced and visually appealing. Once I was happy with the positioning, I gently laid it down and started smoothing it out, working from the center outwards to remove any bubbles or wrinkles for a clean, seamless finish. I really needed a proper smoothing tool, but I made it work with one of those old Pamper Chef scrapers. After I had paper where I wanted it, I brushed on another layer of gator hide to seal it in. Once it dried, I trimmed the edges very carefully with scissors and a knife because, of course, I couldn't find my craft blade when I needed it. And look at it now. It turned out so elegant and high-end. Definitely one of those pieces that looks like you spent way more than you did. Now for the last DIY, it was actually a Pottery Barn piece to begin with. I found this wooden serving board at a garage sale for just $3. It's the same size as the current $249 footed board Pottery Barn sells, just a different shape. I wanted to give it that vintage reclaimed look you see in their catalog spreads, so I started by sanding off the old finish using my orbital sander with an 80 grit pad. I did not want it to bore you with that, so I just did it off camera. Once it was clean and bare, I applied 2 coats of Dixie Belle Voodoo Gel Stain in Whiskey Barrel. This is a water-based gel stain. I love how deep and warm this color is. And then I sealed it with gator hide using a sponge applicator. I'm not planning to use it for food, it's more for styling, so sealing gives that rich, finished look without worrying about durability. And that's it. Three completely different Pottery Barn dupes, all with an elevated designer feel without the designer price tag. If you enjoy these projects and want more high-end DIYs on a budget, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. First project that I'm going to be creating, I have a tremendous savings here for you. I did pick up this vase for $5, but this is not the item that I'm going to be duping. Over on Pottery Barn, I had found this vase, this look actually, the vase with hydrangea bundle, and the hydrangea bundles here is $70, but I really love this whole look, and that's what I'm going to be recreating. So as you can see, my vase was a little bit taller and a little bit thinner, but I think I can achieve that same look. Now for the hydrangea flowers, I did get mine out of the garden, and if you let your hydrangeas dry in a vase, they will get that dusty green look to them a little bit, and they do last for quite a while just sitting in a vase with no water or anything like that. But I did look over on Amazon, as well as I've seen a couple of the one Temu had a few for a lot less than $70. I think the most expensive one was on Amazon Canada for about a 40, but you get a much larger bundle. So look around your garden. You might find the fall foliage that you like, and it looks really nice in your vase. So to get this vase painted, I am going to be, so as you saw, I mixed white and creamy color paint. This is chalk paint, so it's a lot thicker. I was going to add flour to it to make it even more thicker, but my cream colored old ochre chalk paint was pretty dry, so it was actually quite thick, as you can see. The reason why I mixed the two colors is because the old ochre was too yellowish, and the white was too bright. So I just wanted to kind of tone down the brightness of the white. So that's why I mixed them. And I am applying a fairly thick layer because I want that thickness to show in the vase. So I forgot to mention that I will leave the links to the Amazon hydrangeas that I found in the description box in case if you wanted to venture out and get some for yourself. Also Dollarama, if you're located in Canada, I've seen hydrangea flowers there as well. I've never seen them at Dollar Tree, but definitely at Dollarama. At Michael's store, I did not see that color, although I do know that my mother-in-law had gotten herself some hydrangeas like that a while back, so it's worth looking into it. I was just checking on the website. I think making over vases is one of the most affordable ways to add those look for less high-end dupes to your decor, because they tend to be a lot cheaper at thrift stores, and usually you can find the style of them like the high-end stores have them, and with a little bit of paint you can achieve that high-end look. So right now I am just trying to blend, so there's none of the brush strokes are showing, and I'm just using a crafter sponge to do that. Since I like to show you everything, I will show you this step as well, but I do find that this did not uh, really add much to the vase. I wanted to just darken the certain spots just a little bit, but I didn't want to go too much with this brown because I feel like it has a bit of a purplish tinge to it. So I went really, really lightly just to dab on. But you can completely skip this step if you wanted to and just move on to the next step. And the next step is optional as well. If you want, you can just leave it at this point, or you can go and get some dirt and get dirty. My camera ran out of space, my card, so I had to resort to my phone. So here we are. So all I take is before the vase completely dries, I just add some dirt to it, sprinkle it. You want this to be, for this particular project, you want the dirt to be dry. I've done projects where the dirt is wet and then it just kind of paints everything, but then you can't sprinkle it on and the vase has to be dry. So I let this dry completely, and then once it's dried completely, I take a brush and I just brush the dirt off and kind of try and blend it in a little bit. And that's it. And now I went out to my garden and clipped some hydrangeas, added them to my vase, and here it is on my shelf. I think it turned out so nice, and I think it's a pretty close dupe for the one at Pottery Barn and for a lot less. First project, I'm going to be actually recreating a look, and I'm going to be using this picture that my friend gave me, but she thrifted it for $6. And the look that I'm going to be recreating is from a Pottery Barn. I love the color of this vase as well as those aspen tree branches. Now, as you can see, the tree branches are on sale for $45, but the vase is $212. So a little out of my price range. Well, not just a little out of my price range, a lot out of my price range, but I figured I could probably achieve the look with a little bit of creativity. So I'm going to start off by painting this picture. I originally was going to use acrylic paint, but the shiny surface I would have had to apply maybe a Mod Podge or something first. Or so I've decided, after I saw that it wasn't really working, I've decided to just go ahead and paint it with some chalk paint, and I also added a little bit of flour to the chalk paint to thicken it even more, to give it that almost like stone look project. So I'm going to give this one coat first. I'm going to let this coat completely dry. As you can see, it is covering it, but it's still some of the stuff is showing through, so you'll definitely need one more coat after this one. So it's all painted, just adding finishing touches, and I did add a little bit of paint on the inside, especially the part that's going to be showing. So I'm going to let this dry. So it had time to dry, and now I'm going to add another coat of this chalk paint, and then I'm going to do another technique on it while it's still wet. I absolutely love doing any type of vase or pitcher, even like bottles, and make them over. Kind of do. I love doing makeovers because I think these items can be so expensive, and sometimes you can get similar look, sometimes even the same look, for fraction of the price. You can find lots of different types of vases at thrift stores. Even dollar stores carry interesting styles of vases. I had a lot of success this year at garage sales, and it's just such an easy way to add a high-end look to your decor. And with a little bit of paint, maybe a little bit of flour, a little bit of dirt, and you can create beautiful, beautiful pieces. So once it's painted, I'm going to add some to the same tray where I had my chalk paint, some chocolate brown acrylic paint, as well as some black acrylic paint. And then I'm going to use my crafting sponge that's wet, and I'm going to just mix the paint, kind of dab it on both all the paints that are in there, and go over the whole vase with this sponge, almost like blending all the colors on it. I did a similar project a couple weeks ago on a smaller vase, but it's just amazing to see how similar techniques give you such different results and looks. So I'm going to just randomly cover the vase with this paint. In some spots, I went heavy with the one paint and lighter with the other. The others time I went the opposite, and sometimes I just went very light with both colors together. And it's important to blend it really well together so that way it looks like it's meant to be there. And then while the paint was still wet, after I was done sponging stuff on and blending it, I added some flour to it and just pretty much sprinkled flour all over the vase. It's okay if some areas you put more and some areas you put less, because you're going to be dusting the flour off once the piece is completely dry. I feel like the flour blends the color even more together, kind of ties everything in, and it gives it that stone aged look. So once it was completely dry, I just took a stippling brush, a brand new one, and just brushed most of the flour off. There was some stuff that stayed, and then I just took a rag and tried to rub a little bit off. You don't want to completely take it off, but you don't want big clumps because it will be falling off on your furniture while you're using it for decorating. And here is what the vase looks like, or the picture looks like, or completed with the branches in it. And here is to remind you what I was trying to recreate. So this would have cost me over $300 if I was to buy it as is on this picture, but mine came in under $10 with all the supplies that I used. For my next project, I'm going to be making over these two vases. These actually belong to my mother-in-law, who has thrifted with the intention of getting me to make them over. I had finally gotten her to pick out what she wants to get done with them. So I'm going to give them a base coat just to have an even starting point. And I'm doing this the fastest way, which is spray painting it with this satin black spray paint. And here they are spray painted, that way I don't have any of those lines showing through. Then once inside and when completely dry, I mixed up some of that black acrylic paint with some flour just to get a lot thicker texture, because we are going to be trying to recreate this look from Pottery Barn. It is this Cortland vase from Cortland Vase Collection. As you can see, it has a little pattern on it, and she really liked that pattern on this vase. So I'm going to try and create that with some luck. And she couldn't remember exactly how much she had paid for her vases. She believes it was $15 for both, and as you can see, regular price these are range from $112 to $141, but on sale is $78 to $99. So quite a bit of savings for her, $15, and then a little bit of paint that I have used. So like I said, I'm going to mix the black paint with the flour, so that way I can create that design that she is looking for. So one of the reasons why I have decided to spray paint that as well was because once I'm going to be creating the design, which I will be doing it with a pencil. You can do it with a chopstick, or one of those skewer sticks, or any thin object that can give you nice thin lines. I just had a pen on hand, so I am using that. But that way, when you are doing the lines underneath, it's not showing the original color. It is going to be that black base color that I spray painted on. I was working in section because I was worried that if I paint the whole thing all at once and go with a pen, that the first section would dry out on me. So here are the lines. I think that is looking pretty good. So I'm going to continue the same process for the rest of the vase, working in sections. So I am just finishing this here, and I will be doing the other one as well, the taller one, but I'm not going to bore you with the same process because it's exactly the same. But this way you can see how I did it for both of them. I think they turned out beautiful. Here they are all dried. She absolutely loved them. She loved the fact that they had so much character versus just a simple paint job. I paired them with some Timu branches, and I think they are going to be great on her fireplace for her fall decor, since I had inspired her to decorate her home. The last DIY is all about transforming outdated candle holders. These used to be silver, but I wasn't loving the finish anymore either. Instead of getting rid of them, I decided to give them a realistic wood look. I used chalk paint, a stippling brush, and any Sloan dark antiquing wax. I applied one coat of chalk paint and used the stipple brush to create natural looking wood grain texture. Once it was fully dry, I deepened the look with dark wax, making sure to get in all the grooves for the authentic aged wood effect. If you want even a richer look, layer dark, and even you can add white wax together, but I personally love how just the dark wax turned out. If the project you're working on and it has already wood grains, you could easily go in with a just a rag and spread the wax into it on it, because it will just pick up the wood grain. I have shared just recently, it was an older video, but I shared it just this video before on how to achieve that wood look on the a piece of furniture. It's a great way to darken or change the color without actually using a wood stain. And if you have any empty spots where maybe the paint didn't take or you didn't apply as much paint, you can dab on the wax and just keep dabbing it until it almost blends in a little bit, and it'll give it that aged dark wood look as if it had different wood tones in it. These candle holders are now sitting on my dresser with some candles, and they look so high-end for a fraction of the price of a designer variation. And that's it. 3 stunning high-end DIY decor transformation that cost almost nothing, but made a huge impact in my home. I'm starting with a planter transformation. I picked up a pre-mixed can of beige brown paint at a discount because it was a mist tint, such a great way to find high quality paint for cheap. I also found a planter with an attached saucer at the thrift store, which became the perfect base for this DIY. Inspired by Pottery Barn's small decorative pots, I wanted to add texture and character to make it look like an aged clay or a stone planter. To achieve this, I mixed plaster of Paris into my paint and applied 2 coats for depth and texture. I love how the brushstrokes soften the look while adding dimension. I plan to use this for fresh basil since I cook with it multiple times a week. Since I also painted the inside, I'll keep the plant in its original container for food safety. If you try this, you can also use terracotta pots and paint them along with their saucers. This DIY proves you don't have to spend a lot to get the high-end look you love. And here it is. I just added a faux plant to it because I did forget to pick up the basil when I went to the grocery store. We're kicking things off with a beautiful thrifted glass jar I found at Goodwill for just $4.99. Such a great find. The price sticker was already half gone by the time I got home because I was so excited to work on it. At first, I was going to give it a quick spray with Rust-Oleum's Nutmeg, one of my favorite warm tone spray paints right now, but then I remembered the inspiration piece, the confit jar from Olive Ateliers. It has the most beautiful age texture, so I decided to go for that look instead. I let the spray paint dry completely, and then I went in with some country gray chalk paint to create that soft matte texture. If you don't have chalk paint, don't worry. You can use any light colored paint and mix in a little baking soda or cornstarch. This thickens the paint and gives it that aged pottery feel we love. I just happened to have chalk paint on hand, and mine was already quite thick, which helped add a nice subtle texture. Once everything was dry, I sprayed one final coat of the nutmeg color over the textured surface. I've been obsessed with how this color looks on glass lately. It's earthy, cozy, and perfect for a vintage-inspired piece. The original Olive Atelier's jar, it's listed at $115. Mine, just around $5.50, including the paint. It now sits on my kitchen counter, and I truly love how it turned out. Rustic, timeless, and full of charm. Next up, I want to show you a set of thrifted glass vases that I found while specifically hunting for something with a thick rim and a cloudy recycled glass feel. I got really lucky. The larger vase was $3.99 and the smaller one was $3.49. I also picked up a few more from Dollar Tree and Dollarama to round out the collection, especially since I was recreating the look of the Hammered Cafe Hurricane vases from Pottery Barn, which ranged from $134 to $138. To mimic that frosted textured finish, I used gloss Mod Podge and dabbed on with a paper towel in a sponging motion. This gave the surface a cloudy, hand-blown glass look with extra texture. Don't forget to do a rim too. I repeated this on all of the smaller vases, and once dry, they looked perfectly weathered and collected, just like the originals. All of them grouped together create a gorgeous moment. They'll be perfect on a patio table for cozy ambient vibe when entertaining outdoors. Finally, I found these two candlesticks at Value Village for just $2.99. They had great shape, but I wanted them to look more antique, more collected. I started by spray painting them with metallic gold for a full base coat. Once that dry, I added a very light misting of antique bronze and then a few touches of black spray paint just in random spots to give it some patina. The result is the gorgeous aged brass look, elegant, timeless, and perfect for layering into your year-round decor. I can't wait to start styling with these. We're kicking things off with a dupe of Pottery Barn's oversized handcrafted sea glass garland, which retails for $128. Mine, it cost under $5 to make. Last fall, I picked up these assorted plastic ornaments from Temu. I had originally planned to use them for a Christmas DIY, but they weren't quite the right size. Instead of letting them go to waste, I saved them knowing they'll be perfect for something else. And this garland was it. Since I didn't have enough of one size, I decided to alternate between larger and smaller ornaments to stretch the garland's length and add visual interest. To give the clear plastic that frosted sea glass look, I use Rust-Oleum Ultra Cover Clear Gloss Spray. Pro tip, give them a full coat while rotating them to ensure even coverage. You can sink them into a floral foam or place them on pencils if they have holes, or skewers to spray them easily. Now for the fun part, the rope. The Pottery Barn version threads the rope through the ornaments, but I was about to melt holes into the plastic, so instead I wrapped nautical rope around the knots, tied a small knot, and left a tail to attach them. Yes, I did burn myself a little, because what's a DIY project without at least one minor injury? I knotted and glued each ornament individually, then tied them together to form the garland. I used the hot glue to attach them together. It was a bit time consuming, but so worth it. You could totally recreate this with Dollar Tree ornaments too. The result is beautiful piece that works for summer decor and beyond. At the end, I simply left a larger loop of rope and tied a knot at the top to finish it off. That became the end of my garland. I think these turned out so cute, and the best part, they cost me under $5 to make. I'm really happy with how they came out. They are perfect for summer decor with a coastal beachy vibe, but honestly, you could style them year round depending on your space. Next up is a dupe of Pottery Barn Artisan Studio Rope Candle, which sells for a whooping $79. I recreated the look using a citronella candle I found at Dollarama for $4.50. As you can see, the pot already had great texture, but I wanted to mimic the rope detailing from the inspiration piece. I used a nautical rope and hot glued it around the entire pot. Then, for even more authentic look, I mixed a bit of plaster of Paris into white paint and applied it over the rope to add texture and blend everything together. Once it dried, I painted the inside edge to unify the look without touching the candle wax. The great thing about citronella candle is that once they burn down, you can clean out the pot and reuse it, just pop in another candle or even make your own. And for under $6, this might be my favorite dupe so far. If you're enjoying these Pottery Barn inspired DIYs and want more high-end look for less, hit that like button and subscribe. I've got tons of budget-friendly decor ideas coming your way. For our third DIY, I'm working with a thrifted conch shell. I wasn't quite sure what to do with until I saw Pottery Barn's clam and conch shell candle holders. They're coastal, sculptural, and expensive. While my conch doesn't sit flat like the Pottery Barn version, I still love that organic shape. I used the same textured paint mixture from the last project and gave it a full coat. This really brought out all the natural ridges and details. Now, I didn't add a candle to mine because it tilts, and I was worried it might crack if I poured a hot wax. But if yours sits flat, you could place a glass votive inside or carefully pour your own wax into it. Just do some research, or you can even add some of those sandy looking candles with wicks. But I'm just so worried that the shell itself will crack. But like I said, do a little bit of research to find out if that is the case. Even as just a decorative piece, it still ties in beautifully with the rest of these summer-ready dupes. Now for my last project, I'm tackling another Pottery Barn dupe, this time inspired by the bench-side rectangular coffee table in a Seadrift finish. This gorgeous natural wood piece retails for $13.99, but of course, we're recreating the look for a whole lot less. If you've been around for a while, you might remember this table. A friend of mine was getting rid of it and left it out on a curb, so I scooped it up and gave it a second life. I've actually refinished it twice already, and I just love the look of this table so much that I wanted to bring it back to life again, but with a softer, more natural feel this time, closer to the cedar finish that the Pottery Barn is known for. Now, the last time I refinished it, the top unfortunately started to peel. And let me tell you, my daycare kids saw that as a green light to start peeling it even more. Eventually, I had to cover it just to keep their little hands off, but it kept lifting on its own regardless. So it was time for another refresh. I started by cleaning the entire surface and giving the top a light, soft, scuffed sanding, just enough to remove any loose or peeling areas. I didn't sand it all the way down since I planned to apply a paint wash, not a full coverage coat. For the wash, I used Silk All-in-One mineral paint in the color Sandcastle. This paint has a built-in primer, but I still diluted it to create a more transparent, natural effect. I mixed it about 1:3 ratio, 1 part paint to 3 parts water. Using a brush, I applied the wash in sections, then wiped it back using a lint-free paper towel to soften and blend the finish. I repeated the process across the entire table. The wash settled beautifully into the wood, especially in the carved details and corners that would have been a pain to fully sand. While the paint wash alone gave it a nice soft base, it was still a little patchy in some areas. To even it out and add warmth, I followed up with a water-based gel stain It's called the Voodoo Gel Stain by Dixie Bell in Whiskey Barrel. I love this product. It's so super easy to work with. I applied a thin, even coat using an applicator sponge and let it settle into the wood. This really helped pull the tones together and gave the table that rich, natural depth I was going for. To seal everything and hopefully prevent any future peeling, I applied a protective top coat gator hide. This is a water-resistant, durable finish that will help protect the surface from daily wear, especially in high-traffic rooms like this one. And here's how it turned out. It may not look drastically different from the last version, but I love the more cohesive natural wood tone. The new stain is also much less yellow and I think it brings much less orange, and I think it brings the whole piece closer to that high-end Pottery Barn aesthetic. For the last project, I transformed a thrifted wooden shelf that my friend found for me for $7.99. It was the perfect size, but I wanted it to match my kitchen island. I ended up sanding off some of the finish, just a clear coat. I wasn't aiming for perfection since I was going to be painting it anyway. I just wanted to rough it up a little bit. I used a hand sander with 220 grit sandpaper that had been used several times, so it wasn't too aggressive, but it still did the job I needed. There are many places where you can find small shelves at different price points. I even found one similar to mine but larger on Etsy for a lot more than what I paid. If you're looking for a piece, just be patient. The right one is out there and you just need to find it. Once everything was sanded down, I brought it inside and used a sandpaper that I picked up at Dollar Tree uh, to get in all the little nooks and crannies that the sander couldn't reach, especially underneath the small hanging parts. This step took a little longer since it was difficult to get in all the tight spaces by hand. Once I was done, I wiped everything down with a damp paper towel. Once prepped, I mixed up my beige brown paint. To prevent yellowing, I followed a trick I've seen in other DIY videos, adding a tiny bit of blue paint to balance out warm tones. I applied the paint with a sponge brush, wiping off excess with a lint-free rag to create a soft, natural finish. I worked by sections so that way the paint did not dry on me. If it happens that you are working on a larger section, just make sure you have a bottle of spray bottle with some water in it so you can keep your paint wet. Once I completed that and the shelf dried, which didn't take long at all, I took some of my Annie Sloan antiquing wax in dark and applied it with a brush. The brush I used was similar to stippling brush, and I worked in very small amounts at a time, brushing it out as I went. This darkened the paint slightly and really brought out all the grooves and wood grain, which I love. After applying the wax with the brush, I buffed it out slightly with the rag. You don't need to fully buff the antiquing wax, you can simply wipe off the excess. In my case, I wouldn't say I buffed it out completely, but I did make sure to wipe it well after applying it with the brush to even everything out. Initially, it looked slightly greenish, but as it dried, it settled into a warm, rich tone that matched my island perfectly. Here is how the shelf looks now, and you can see some of the pieces I already added to it. I think it turned out absolutely beautiful and matches my island perfectly, just the way I envisioned it. It's a great addition to this little space, which had been sitting empty and was really bothering me. Now, not only does it add a decorative touch, but it also brings in some functionality. This corner gets a lot of beautiful morning sunlight, so I thought it would be the perfect spot for a little herb garden. Here is how I styled it for now. I added my DIY flower pot with some fall herbs until I get fresh ones, my DIY picture frame with the DIY bunny from last week, and a little hanging basket with garlic. The basket came from Timo. And I also included a simple kitchen dish towel along with the watering can. Our first project is a Pottery Barn inspired Forsythia wreath. This bright and cheerful piece is perfect for spring, bringing a pop of yellow to your front door or interior decor. Instead of paying retail prices, I'm going to show you how to make a stunning version using affordable materials. The materials that I needed for this was the bunny wreath form from Dollarama, which I picked up for $5. Also, Forsythia stems, they are currently at Dollarama for $1.75. I had some from previous years. You're going to need some wire cutters, hot glue and glue sticks, floral wire, which is optional for extra support. So first, this wreath form was actually wrapped in a wire, and which I hadn't realized when I first bought it. To separate it, I used wire cutters to carefully snip away extra wire and remove the bunny shape, leaving just the circular base. I had a mix of older and newer Forsythia stem, and I noticed that the newer ones had slightly larger flowers and were more open. I will show you that in just a little bit. I cut the long stems down into smaller branch-like pieces to create a fuller, more natural look. I started by attaching two longer Forsythia stems to the wreath base first and secure them with small piece of cut wire and a bit of hot glue. This created a strong foundation. Then one by one, I inserted the smaller Forsythia branches into the frame, making sure to distribute them evenly around the wreath. Some pieces stayed in place on their own, while others needed a dab of hot glue to ensure they were secure. Here is the difference between the new Forsythia and the old one. I checked for any sparse areas and filled them in with extra stems. Once finished, I hung it up on my home sign at the front door, and I absolutely love how it brightens up the space. My DIY cost around $8 in total, and compared to Pottery Barn's $41 price tag. Last project, we're making a concrete style bunny inspired by Pottery Barn's cast stone rabbit, which retails for over $50. I picked up this Dollarama rabbit for $3.75. I'm also going to use black and white acrylic paint, some antiquing wax, and a little bit of olive green suede paint that we used in our first project, and then a paintbrush and a rag. Since I didn't have gray paint, I mixed black and white acrylic until I achieved the right shade of gray. I painted the whole rabbit, making sure I got into all the little nooks and crannies of the rabbit. The eyes on this rabbit always freak me out a little bit, so I like to cover them as well. Once I painted it, I did take a rag and just dabbed it all over just to almost blend the paint in a little bit. Did take the paint off the eyes, so I did have to touch them up. Once the bunny completely dried, I mixed white antiquing wax with a bit of that olive green color to create a mossy patina. I lightly brushed it all over the bunny, making sure it settled into the crevices. Then I took another brush and blended the wax to ensure a natural look. And the total cost of mine was around $5 compared to Pottery Barn's over 50, I think it was $69. And I also just want to give you a little tip. If you're shopping at Dollarama, make sure you check your bunny prices, because there were, when I was looking at them, I picked up two same rabbits, and one was priced at $3.50 and the other one was priced at $5. I have a feeling that one was from last year's stock, and then the other one was this year's stock, so the prices must have gone up, but they had forgot to switch the price tags. So make sure you check your prices, because there's no reason to pay more if you don't have to. I love how this bunny turned out. I think he looks absolutely adorable. Obviously, I'm not going to be using mine in the garden, but he will look just fabulous on my shelf or on my coffee table. If you want some great looking linens, Pottery Barn is a place for you, especially the table linens. I was browsing and I came across some of these fringed table linens, and I thought they looked really nice, right up my alley, the way I want my style to go. So I had seen some napkins, but I also saw this frayed linen table throw, which is just a throw to go over your table. It's not necessarily a full tablecloth, and it had a really nice fringed edge to it. and I loved the color choices, especially this one. And but I did not love the $141 price tag that this throw came at. So after a little bit of brainstorming, I did find this canvas cloth in my stash. It did come from Dollarama. It was $4. So I had trimmed it to a size that would fit my table. And then it was kind of sewn together at the end. So I just wanted to cut that finished piece off. And then I went ahead and just pulled the string off of it, or the thread, until I reached that fringed look that the cloth had. You can go as much as you want to, or as little. Mine was about 1/2 inch of a fringe that I had left on the end. So as I'm fringing this cloth, I just want to say hello, welcome. My name is Sonja. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you're returning. And I'm super excited about today's video because I absolutely love all the dupes that I did. So I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. So here it is, and I think it's very close to the inspiration. And now moving on to the next one, I wanted to get some placemats. Now I used to have these green ones that I picked up at Dollarama for $1.50, but I'm not sure if I threw them out or if I just can't find them, because it seems to be a repeated thing that I can't find things in my house. But they were very much the same style of these. So I still wanted to show you, because I will, even if I can't find them, I will go purchase these. But I still wanted to show you how easy it is to redo them if you don't have them in the right color. Like mine were really bright blue, and I no longer want that color, so I wanted to change them up into black. So I did find these, so I took them into my garage and then used this spray paint. Almost had a meltdown because I could not open it. It has a child-proof lid, and apparently I'm a child who cannot open it. So I gave it a nice generous coat, let it completely dry, and it's okay to use it because you're not putting food directly on it, you're putting plates on it, so you can use the spray paint and spray paint it really in any color that you want. I just did it in black, and I think this turned out really, really nice. It is a matte black, even though it looks shiny here, and I think the contrast between the plate color and the tablecloth color is great. So, and I thought for about $1.50, not so bad. Set of 4 would cost me around $8 versus $57 that it was on the Pottery Barn's website. Now moving on to another inspiration, going back to the fringed linen. They had these napkins, and I thought they were great. Again, set of 4 in the color that I really liked. They were $68. A little steep for napkins that most likely might end up getting stained so bad that you are going to have to toss them after several reuses anyways. So I went ahead with that same material that I had, and from, just to refresh your memory, from the Dollarama, I cut a piece off of it to about the size of that I thought a napkin size would be. You could take an actual napkin and put it up against and measure it out. I just eyeballed it, and then again it had that double end, so cut that off because you can't fringe that. And then I went ahead and started fringing it, and to me it's such a satisfying process to pull the string out. So with the whole piece of fabric that I picked up at Dollarama for $4, I did have it on hand, but I'm still gonna count it as paying $4 plus tax for it. I was able to make one tablecloth and about 5 napkins. So not bad at all for $4, whereas it would have cost me well over $150 for the table runner and napkins, 4 napkins. So here it is. I absolutely love it and so very close to the original inspiration. So moving on, for my next one, I wanted to complete the setting look. So I went ahead and started looking for some napkin rings and came across this one. And I thought, perfect, because I knew just the perfect piece that I already had on hand that I was going to toss. So it was free, whereas a set of 4 is $42, and it is this belt. So I just cut the size of a ring. You could use, if you have some napkin rings laying around, as a guide. I just again eyeballed it to what I thought the ring size should be, trimmed it to that size, and then I went ahead and cut it and then use hot glue to attach the pieces. You can go an extra mile and add another layer across the hot glue, so that way you don't see the hot glue. I don't think you'll see the hot glue anyways, because once you slide the napkins in, nobody's gonna see where it's joined. I thought this was such an easy DIY, and you can literally make it with any belt. You can thrift belts and just make them. There's really some nice colored belts too that you could use for like spring or even Valentine's. You can find bright green, bright yellow, pink, red belts, all sorts of different belts, and they would act great as napkin rings. So I thought this was, like I said, such an easy, inexpensive DIY, and I think it looks absolutely fabulous in the table setting that I've kind of started to put together. Now, to elevate the look of your table setting, you need some lighting or some candles or candelabras, and my goodness, this Pottery Barn have lots of it. Lots of different shapes, styles, looks, different materials that it's made out of. I did, however, settle on this hurricane candle holder with gold accents, simply because I thought, what a great way to use some of my leftover lids from all the Bath and Body Works candles, because I have been saving all those lids, and I thought that turned out that would work really good for the base of the this candle holder. Now, as you saw, the small price of the small was $59 and a large one was $134. Mine was kind of in between, as I am using the little vase, the glass vase that you can purchase at Dollar Tree or Dollarama for $1.50, and then I'm going to use some spun gold paint, and I also used antique gold paint as well, just to kind of mix them all up. I was originally going to try and figure out a matching color to the lid, the lip of the lid, but ended up thinking that it was much easier to just paint the lid to match the gold that I was going for. You could also, which I would strongly advise you to use some painter's tape just to get a straight, clean line. My husband took my painter's tape and I no longer had it, so I just used freehand, but I strongly recommend using painter's tape. And you can, the nice thing about this, you can make your top gold part as thick or as thin as you want. I did go a little bit thicker than the original inspiration, just because I liked it a little bit better that way. So once I had painted the top, I had glued the bottom to the lid, and I did leave the rubber part of the lid on because the glass wedged right in the middle of it. So I thought that was pretty a good way to keep it in place. And then I decided that it did need a second coat of the on the top again, just to smooth it out. So I proceeded on painting the top, and then I also painted the bottom as well, just to match the colors. I added a battery operated candle. Now I would probably use a little bit shorter one, but I just wanted to show you what that would look like. For my next DIY, I picked up another $5 bunny from Dollarama, since you guys enjoyed my last bunny makeover. And my inspiration came from Pottery Barn's handcrafted terracotta bunny sculpture. Their versions are absolutely stunning, but also expensive. So I'm starting with a base coat of white acrylic paint. I found mine at Dollar Tree. I only did one coat because I wanted to let the natural texture of the bunny show through. This gave it a sculpted look. If your bunny doesn't have much texture, you can mix in cornstarch, sand, or even plaster of Paris into your paint to create that aged terracotta finish. Once the paint dried completely, I aged it using coffee grounds. I gently rubbed them into the bunny, focusing on the crevices to enhance all those beautiful details. To finish, I used a clean brush to blend and soften the effect. You can also use a dry cloth to wipe off excess coffee for a more subtle look. I love how this turned out. It looks so high-end and vintage. Let me know in the comments if you tried this technique. I'm starting today's DIY with a very simple makeover that makes a huge impact. I picked up this candle holder from Dollarama for under $5. It actually came with a candle and a little LED candle and a little fall wreath around it, but I wasn't loving the leaves, so the first step was removing those. Now, once everything was off, honestly, this piece could already pass as a high-end Pottery Barn dupe as is, but since this is a DIY channel, I wanted to take it a step further. The inspiration for this piece came from the handcrafted found pumpkin candle holder from Pottery Barn. Theirs is beautiful, but it comes with a pretty high price tag. Mine is a medium size, and already the savings are huge. For paint, I'm using Krylon Metallic Gold spray paint for Michaels. Here's a little tip. When spray painting, always do light, even coats and rotate the pieces so you can get into all the little nooks and crannies. Several thin coats will give you a smooth, professional finish without the drips. And here's how it turned out. A gorgeous Pottery Barn inspired full candle holder dupe that looks elegant, high end for just a few dollars. My next project is a thrifted jack-o'-lantern I found for $8.49. It's a ceramic piece, and while the price was a little steep for thrifted decor, it was still much cheaper than the handcrafted jack-o'-lanterns from Pottery Barn that inspired this dupe. For this DIY, I used Dixie Belle Sea Spray additive mixed with in the paint marigold to give the pumpkin that terracotta texture and color. It took two coats for full coverage, and here's a tip. Let each coat dry fully before applying the next for the best finish. For the second coat, I went lighter with the sea spray to keep some natural variations in texture. Once it was dry, I finished it with Dixie Belle's white wax, brushing it over lightly to mimic that beautiful whitewashed aged pottery look. This one turned out so chic and rustic. Honestly, I love this version way more than the flower method I used last year. It's less messy and the texture is so much more authentic. And for my last project, I picked up these pumpkins at Dollarama for $4.75 each. The inspiration came from the Pottery Barn pumpkin candles, which are much, much more expensive. First, I removed the stems and saved them for future DIYs. Then, using a knife, I carved out the hole in the top just big enough to fit the flickering candle. First, I used a pepper core to make a hole all the way through, but not poking it all, not making the hole on the other side. And then I used the knife to carve out the precise size. And the LED candles I also found at Dollarama for $1.75. Pro tip, carve slowly and test fit as you go. And if you hate the squeaky sound of cutting styrofoam like I do, pop in some headphones while you work. Once the pumpkins were prepped, I painted one in Dixie Bell's silk paint in Hampton Olive and the other one in Dixie Bell's Marigold. Both needed two coats since styrofoam can be tricky to paint adhesion. After they dried, I sealed them with Dixie Bell's clear coat in gloss to give them that waxy candle-like shine. To make them look even more realistic, I lightly dabbed on some of Dixie Bell's cotton paint to mimic the white waxy variation you can see in real candles. I think these turned out so cute and for around $12 total for both. I got two high-end Pottery Barn candle pumpkins that look amazing styled on a mantle, table centerpiece, or a shelf. We're starting off today's DIY with a thrifted ceramic vase I found for just $9.99. The shape instantly reminded me of the French glazed vase from Pottery Barn. Mine is slightly larger, but definitely gave me the inspiration to reimagine it in that soft, neutral style. First things first, I cleaned it thoroughly with White Lightning, a heavy-duty cleaner that removes grease, grime, and sticky residue. This step is key when working with thrifted or non-porous pieces to ensure everything adheres properly. Then I applied a coat of bonding boss, which is a primer that helps chalk paint stick to slick surfaces like ceramic or glass. This step prevents your paint from peeling or chipping later, especially important for decor that might get moved around seasonally. Once the bonding primer dried, pro tip, I placed it outside briefly to speed things up. I went in with burlap chalk paint by Dixie Belle. It's a creamy beige tone that's warm and subtle, but once dry, I felt it needed just a bit more contrast. A little tip, if your base coat ever feels a bit off tone, layer with a whitewash. To add more interest, I sectioned off the vase and painted the top portion with Hampton Olive, a soft muted green that feels very high-end. I did apply 2 coats of this Hampton olive, waiting it to dry in between the coats. Then once everything was fully dry, I mixed cotton chalk paint with a bit of water to create a whitewash and brushed it over the bottom part of the vase. I wiped it back to lighten everything slightly and blended the tones. It gave it that weathered age look that I love in high-end ceramics. Here you can see me applying the second coat of the Hampton olive. Like I said, I waited for the top to dry fully before applying the next coat. Also, to finish the project off, I did go in and create a line where the 2 colors meet, which was a bit lighter than the bottom color, just to mimic the look that the original piece had. And then I even painted just a bit inside the rims so the illusion is complete from every angle. For added texture and that perfectly imperfect aged pottery look, I sprayed on matte wax and applied Dixie mud using a chip brush. First I sprinkled the mud and then I blended everything with the chip brush, concentrating the dirt into the crevices and blending some light dry brushing to soften the finish. You want to make sure that the wax didn't dry fully and it has that wet tacky feel to it before applying the dirt. And to blend everything in, I mixed in cotton paint, chalk paint, and the burlap chalk paint and blended all of it in, adding a little bit of paint and a little bit of dirt. Once I was happy with the finish, I sealed it with Rust-Oleum clear gloss spray, and just look at that transformation. It cost me around $15 to create. If you're loving these budget-friendly if fall dupes so far, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps my channel grow. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a DIY. I post lots of Pottery Barn, McGee & Co., Crate and Barrel, and so many more high-end store-inspired ideas year-round. I'm starting today's dollar store Christmas DIYs 2025 with this Christmas tree cone I picked up at Dollarama for $4.75. You can totally use a styrofoam cone or even make one from cardstock, but I love the size and price of this one. For this Pottery Barn dupe, inspired by the lit birch tree that retails between $113 and $283, I needed wooden spoons from Dollarama. In total, I used 4 packs, 3 large and 1 small. I started by cutting the handles off the spoons and saving them for the future DIY projects or daycare crafts. Using hot glue, I glued each spoon onto the base of the cone with the pointy end downwards and the cut end facing upwards. Once I began gluing around the bottom, I quickly realized the spoons didn't sit right because of the plastic leather-like trim on the cone. So I removed one full row to make everything fit properly. You obviously won't have to do this part if you are using a styrofoam cone or you made your own. For the second row, I placed each new spoon where 2 bottom spoons met, slightly overlapping the tip so it created a beautiful layered effect. I repeated this with the large spoons until I reached the top area where there was only room for 2 more rows. Then I switched to the smaller spoons for a tapered finish. At the very top, I wrapped rope around the tip, hot gluing it in random spots to secure it. After the 3 structure was finished, I mixed equal parts water and Dixie Belle's coffee bean brown chalk paint. Brushed it on lightly to create random drips and natural depth. Once that dried, I used white wax to highlight each spoon, blending it as I went. Now for the fun part, sparkle. I took it to the garage and sprayed the whole tree with adhesive spray, working in sections. While it was still tacky, I added spectral glitter all over for a magical winter glow. To finish, I wrapped twinkling lights throughout the tree. And that's it. An almost 20-inch Pottery Barn lit birch tree dupe for about $20. Such a gorgeous look for so much less. And this tree is not only perfect for the holiday season, you can totally use it in your winter decor in January. If you loved this high-end dupe so far, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps my channel. This next DIY is another fun one, Maggie & Co. dupe using Dollarama terracotta clay, and of course you can get clay anywhere. At Dollarama it costs around $2. I only used half the package. It was already the perfect color, so I did not need to color the clay. I started by warming up the clay with my hands so it was easier to mold. Once it softened, I placed it between two sheets of parchment and rolled it out about 1/4 of an inch. Don't make it thinner than that because it increases the chance of cracking. Using Christmas cookie cutters, I cut out some of my shapes. My inspiration was the Maggie & Co. Gingerbread cookie ornament set, which retails for $36 regular price and $18 on sale. Mine came in under $2. Now that the shapes were cut out and before letting it dry, I used a straw to punch holes for ribbon or rope. To help prevent cracking, I let them dry for at least 24 hours, placing them between two damp cloths so they dried slowly and evenly. Once dry, I added puff paint for dimension. I created dots, swirls, and little designs. You can be as creative as you want here. And once that dry, I added rope for the rustic look, but ribbon will look beautiful too. I tried using glitter spray, but even though the bottle was full, it wouldn't spray. I even used a pin to clear the nozzle, but no luck. Same issue I've had with this brand of spray paint before. If you know a trick to fix this, please share it in the comments. Even without the glitter, these turned out beautiful. Definitely a budget gingerbread ornament dupe worth trying. For the first project, I'm starting with a few thrifted glass bowls, 2 round bowls and 1 smaller glass candle holder. My inspiration came from Pottery Barn's light up snowman decor, which I absolutely adore, and I wanted to recreate that same cozy glow for a fraction of the cost. Once the bowls were cleaned and the price stickers removed, I began by gluing them together, starting with the largest bowl upside down as the base, then stacking the smaller bowl on top, and finishing with the candle holder flipped upside down to form the hat. After the glue dried, I used all-purpose drywall compound to give my snowman a soft, handmade look. I applied it by hand to get a smooth, sculpted finish and to reach all the little curves and crevices. It's a bit tedious, but so worth it for that textured pottery-like feel. Once I was happy with the shape, I used a small makeup brush to clear space for the snowman's eyes and a mouth and added a few small buttons to the lower section. For the nose, I used a styrofoam egg from my craft stash, coated it in a compound, and attached it with more compound as glue, filling in any gaps around the edges. After letting it dry for 24 hours, I sanded everything smooth with the sanding block, wiping away any dust before painting. The Pottery Barn version has a soft off-white color, so I used Dixie Belle's E-Cruise chalk paint, which is a beautiful creamy beige tone that gives it that high-end natural look. Once it was painted, I couldn't believe how close it looked to the original, and it cost me under $10 to make. It's such a cute dupe and looks stunning when lit up. When lighting it up, make sure to use an LED candle, not the actual candle, because there's no air in it once you put it in there, so it won't stay lit.